morning. I'm Robert Cancel, Professor of African and Comparative Literature at UCSD. I want to invite you to look into taking a global seminar that I'm going to be teaching next summer in Granada. We're here at Mirador San Nicolas, overlooking one of the wonders of the world. It's a World Heritage Site, the Alhambra. I'm in the part of town called the Albaicin, which is the old Arab quarter. Also a World Heritage Site, one of the oldest parts of the city. I want to talk a little bit about the classes in the seminar and maybe help you understand how this is going to work. I myself have done a lot of work in Africa. I've lived in Zambia, recorded storytellers in villages. I've written books on that. I've written articles in African written literature and film, Caribbean literature, music. Of late I've been interested in American culture history and Spanish literature, which led me to Granada some years back. And it's very hard to describe how enchanting and magical this place is. I want to put it in the context of a few things. First of all, studying abroad is a choice all students can make for various reasons. And most African societies have a saying that translates into English as something like, he who never travels thinks his mother's the only cook. And it's really encouraging a much broader worldview. And I think that's really healthy for almost anybody. Whether you go on this program or on another, I really encourage you to get out and see the world. There's another poet, a Spanish poet, who wrote some famous lines about the city. And the English translation goes something like, "Give him alms, woman, for there is nothing sadder in this world than to be blind in Granada." And he's referring to the beauty of the place and the diversity. Long history here. A lot of things are so attractive. You have a very contemporary city living right next to a very old city and some very old monuments and so forth. To my right is the Alhambra, to my left is downtown Granada. And another nice contrast that we'll be thinking about in these classes is you've got this edifice built by the Moors, Muslims, and right at the center of the town you have a giant cathedral built by the Catholics. So we'll be looking at those contrasts, but let me talk just a little bit about the courses. The first one I'm going to offer is Third World Studies 21, and it's going to be called Islam and Immigration. And the course, like the other course as well, looks both backwards and into the present. Could be looking at African writers from West Africa and North Africa and talking about experiences of immigration and living in other cultures. Sometimes the trauma, sometimes the successes. These writers are writing from as long ago as the 60s right to the present. The second part of the course is going to be the same experience today reimagined through film. And we'll be looking at African filmmakers as well as Spanish filmmakers who look at immigration from a different point of view. The class is lower division. It is fulfills GE requirement for Marshall College. It fulfills GE requirements for 5 of the 6 colleges actually, as well as engineers at Warren College can take this as part of their global breadth requirement. The second course is an upper division class. It'll be Lit World 180. It's going to be a course that focuses on reimagining the Spanish Civil War. And for those of you who don't know, the Spanish Civil War was really the formative event of the last century for Spain. It was traumatic, it was horrendous like most civil wars, and then had an effect that lasted for well over 30 years after the war. I'm going to look at it from initially the point of view of some famous foreigners who were engaged in that war in the 30s, Ernest Hemingway, Andre Malraux, and George Orwell. Look at some of their books describing the war. We're going to also talk about what brought the war on, what happened after the war, and the long period of the dictator, General Francisco Franco, a time that most people, I think, will agree was unusually repressive in modern world. When Franco dies in 1975 and the country moves towards democracy, Most would have thought that people would be free to speak about all of their experiences after the war, but in fact, one of the agreements, unofficial, that allowed the transition from the dictatorship to the new democracy was that people would not raise the war. They felt it would be divisive. They called it the Pacto de Silencio, the Pact of Silence. And so the people who suffered trauma and those who are their descendants were more or less forced to be quiet and not discuss the horrible things that happened to them. And it's only been in the last maybe 15 years or so that Spanish filmmakers have been making films about the war. They've been kind of leading, in many ways, the charge in recuperating all these memories and bringing some sort of closure to the victims of the war. And now the government itself is engaged in a memory project, interviewing survivors and families, and basically even literally looking for dead bodies in mass graves. There are people who were killed by the tens of thousands. Many of them simply disappeared. No one knows where they went to. So the filmmakers are really exploring all these many complex issues from actually many perspectives. So we'll be looking at that as well. And this upper division course also suits most colleges' humanities requirements. It'll work well with majors and minors in film, literature, etc. One of the unique parts of this course is we're going to go to Morocco for a few days, where we'll have been seeing Africa in Spain here. We'll go to Morocco, we'll see the other way around. We'll see Spain and Africa. We're going to visit sites where there is thousands of African immigrants mass trying to get into Europe. There's a literal border fence. Most of you who live in Southern California know what that is. There's a border fence in Morocco at a small little part of that country that is actually Spain. And the Spanish have built a fence there to keep out immigrants trying to get into Spain. We'll visit Tangier, where there's been violence against black African illegal immigrants waiting to go to Spain. So the issues will be very complicated, and I think it'll be very, very rewarding. The trip to Morocco is almost unique among the offerings in the Global Studies program. So I invite you to look into the seminar, which has the title Spanish Memories, African Dreams in Literature and Film. Feel free to contact me. My email address and my phone are on the website. And I look forward to hearing from you, and hopefully we can join together for a really wonderful experience. Thanks very much.